welcome to Daily Life Connection. Thanks for joining me again today. Luke chapter 15, Jesus' story about who his Father is. Let's continue to explore it together. I hope you're enjoying this series. I'm having a wonderful time putting this all together and sharing it with you. Today, I want to talk about the fact that this son was lost. The Father says, my son who was lost. He was lost to the Father. He was not available to the Father because he had removed himself away from the Father and gone physically away from the Father and emotionally away from the Father. Both of these sons were lost because the older brother was lost relationally as well. But here's what I want to focus on today. While this son was way off in a distant country, living a wild lifestyle, he was lost, but he still belonged to the Father. The Father says to him, this son of mine, this son of mine. He didn't say he was no longer a son and I've made him a son again. His status as a son never changed. When he was growing up, he was the son. When he demanded his share of the inheritance, he was still a son. When he was far off, he was still a son. When he came home, he was still a son. At the end of the story, he's still a son. This son of mine was lost, the Father says, and has been found. He was dead and has come to life again. He's come back alive again. He's come alive to me, and he's been found to me. Our relationship has been restored and found. The point I really want to make here today is even if we're far away from home, we still belong. We still belong. The enemy will lie to us. He will tell us, because of what you've done, you don't belong anymore. You don't belong to God. He wouldn't want someone like you. He only wants good boys and girls. And there is the whole crux of this story, isn't it? You see, the religious conservative crowd, the Pharisees and so on, they looked at it and said, what God wants is good boys and girls, those who obey the rules and are committed to living these holy lives of full compliance with all the rules and regulations. That's what God really wants. And Jesus said, I've got to tell you something. You are wrong. You know, it's like when they said this, Jesus went, wrong answer. He loves and values bad boys and girls too. He values the good ones, he values the poor ones, the bad ones, all equally. Jesus said, I didn't come to seek and to save those who think they're righteous enough, or who are righteous, they comply with the rules. I've come to seek and save the lost. I've come to seek and save those that are far from home, but they still belong to me. The reason he's seeking them, the reason he goes after the lost, the reason that shepherd in Luke chapter 15, the first story, goes after that sheep is because it's his sheep. The reason the woman scours the house to find the coin is because it's her coin. The reason this father embraces this boy when he comes back is because it's his son. The reason the father goes out to the miserable elder brother who's out there throwing a hissy fit in the yard and pleads with him to come in is because it's his son. The Father loves his son. This son was lost, he says, but he has been found. He's still my son, even when he's lost. So that's good news. I just want to encourage our hearts today because I think sometimes when we mess up or we fail to read the Bible for a day or forget to pray all day, and we think, I'm not really worthy. I don't really belong. I don't know if I belong to God. How can I belong to God and still act like this? How can I belong to God and still have these thoughts or these attitudes or do these things? How can I need to tell you today, you do belong to God. You always have. You always will. You are his. He created you. He created you. He chose you before the beginning of time, before the foundation of the world, Ephesians chapter 1, to be who you are. And you are his child. You are his son. You are his daughter. You may be lost. You may have wandered. You may have turned your back. You may whatever. But the good news is you still belong. So anytime, it's like if you belong to some club, and you walk away from it, you don't pay your dues, and you trash the club, and you steal from it, and so on. Well, the only way back in is you have to reapply and go through a process to be readmitted before you belong again. That's not how it is with God. He says, no matter what you have done, no matter how much you've trashed me and dishonored my name, no matter how far away you've walked, you still belong in this club. You still belong in this house. So I want you to know that today. Wow, what good news that is. Let's think about it. Thank God for it. Share it with somebody else. And we'll talk again tomorrow.